To understand the modern chaos of the Middle East, one must first perform an autopsy on the Ottoman Empire. For 400 years, the House of Osman ruled a mosaic of peoples: Turks, Arabs, Kurds, Armenians, Jews, and Greeks, under a system that, while imperfect, recognized the inherent friction of the Levant. The Ottomans did not use borders in the Westphalian sense. They governed through vilayets, provinces, that largely followed the natural contours of tribal loyalties and religious sections. By 1916, however, the sick man of Europe was on his deathbed. The vultures circling overhead wore Seville rose suits and French military regalia. Imagine sitting in a dimly lit office in Whitehall or a gilded room at the Quai d'Orsay. You are Sir Mark Sykes, a British aristocrat with a penchant for sweeping generalizations, or François Georges-Picot, a French diplomat obsessed with reclaiming France's civilizing mission in the Levant. To these men, the Middle East was not the cradle of civilization or a complex web of 1,400 years of Islamic jurisprudence and tribal feuds. It was a logistical problem. For Sykes, the priority was the all-red route, the vital artery of telegraph cables and steamship paths connecting London to the jewel in the crown, India. To protect this interest, Britain needed to control the Suez Canal and the land bridge across Mesopotamia. For Picot, the priority was Greater Syria. France viewed itself as the protector of Maronite Christians and sought to secure Mediterranean ports like Beirut to project naval power. In May 1916, they sat down with a map and a grease pencil. Sykes famously told the British cabinet, "I should like to draw a line from the in Acre to the last K in Kirkuk." With that one sentence, he bisected a continent. In nature, borders are curved. They follow rivers, mountain ranges, and the edges of fertile valleys. Straight lines are the mark of the colonizer. They represent a total disregard for the people living on the ground. This is most evident in the creation of Iraq, with a British-welded 3 distinct Ottoman provinces, Basra, Baghdad, and Mosul, into a single state. The Sunnis in the center were given the keys to the kingdom despite being a minority. The Shias in the south, who held the religious heartland of Najaf and Karbala, were politically marginalized. The Kurds in the north, an Indo-European people with a distinct language, were tethered to an Arab state they never asked to join. This wasn't a nation, it was a cage. History shows that when you force disparate identities into a single box, the lid is often kept on only through the iron fist of a strongman. This created a direct lineage of trauma leading from the British Mandate to the rise of the Vilayet party and eventually Saddam Hussein. Furthermore, Sykes and Picot split Kurdish ancestral lands among 4 different sovereign entities: Turkey, Syria, Iraq, and Iran. By rendering them a minority in every country they inhabited, the 1916 lines ensured that the Kurdish struggle for Rojava or Kurdistan would become a permanent source of regional instability. The tragedy of the 21st century is the violent collapse of these 1916 lines. For decades, the West supported dictators because they kept the peace. They were the locks on the Sykes-Picot box. But as seen during the Arab Spring and the 2003 invasion of Iraq, when the dictator falls, the box doesn't just open, it shatters. The artificial state dissolves back into its sectarian components. In a vacuum, groups like ISIS, who filmed themselves bulldozing the border berm between Syria and Iraq in 2014, emerged to offer a new, blood-soaked identity. The map is being redrawn, but the ink is no longer coming from a diplomat's pen. It is being traced in the rubble of Aleppo and the streets of Baghdad. To understand the modern Middle East, one must look past the maps of 1916 and toward the map of the human soul, specifically the schism of 632 AD. When the Prophet Muhammad died without a clear successor, the Islamic world split into 2 factions, Sunnis and Shias. For decades, this fueled a sectarian Cold War between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Islamic Republic of Iran. Riyadh and Tehran followed a specific rulebook: never fight each other directly. Instead, they fought proxy wars, a game of chess played with human lives. Why risk an Iranian soldier in Tehran when you can fund a militia in Lebanon and Yemen? Why risk a Saudi pilot over Riyadh when you can fund an army in Yemen. By 2025, this strategy failed. The shadow war moved into the light. The catalyst was the nuclear red line. As Iran's uranium enrichment reached weapons-grade levels, the diplomatic containment strategy evaporated. The proxy phase ended, and the direct conflict phase began. The Middle East sits atop 60% of the world's proven oil reserves. This is a massive blessing for GDP, building the glass skyscrapers of Dubai, but it is a magnet for foreign interference. Because the global economy runs on this crude, powers like the US, China, and Russia cannot stay away. This is the security dilemma. To protect their own economies, global powers must intervene, which further destabilizes the region. Nowhere is this more precarious than the Strait of Hormuz. Only 21 miles wide at its narrowest point, 1/5 of the world's total oil consumption passes through this choke point. Closing the strait is the nuclear option of economics. It would halt factories in China and collapse global supply chains within weeks. At the heart of it all remains the Israeli-Palestinian struggle. By 2026, the landscape has shifted so profoundly that the old vocabulary, the Oslo Accords, and the two-state solution, has become functionally obsolete. What was once a localized territorial dispute has morphed into a multi-front regional war. The Palestinian question is now a central pillar of the axis of resistance, led by Tehran, and the ultimate test of the Abraham Accords led by the Gulf monarchies. The defining question of our century is who gets to draw the next map. In 1916, it was drawn with a ruler in a quiet London office. Today, it is being redrawn by the people on the ground.